The rapid rise of Bitcoin is turning skeptics into believers. Back in October, the Russian central bank banned all cryptocurrencies. Now, Russian President Vladimir Putin wants to launch one of his own.
This instrument suits us very well for sensitive activity on behalf of a state. We can settle accounts with our counterparties all over the world with no regard for sanctions.
Experts say the move could help the Kremlin steer clear of US dollar and sanctions. But they see no utility in a crypto ruble for ordinary people.
If something is developed to facilitate the trade between the two countries and make it safer and make not allow any third countries to disrupt basically your settlements, that this is something good for the central bank. But this will be a very specific vehicle, and I don't really understand why it should be appealing to people to participate in this market, to buy these currencies.
So far, the central bank's support is also limited to using the crypto ruble for settling payments with other central banks.
The issue of a common cryptocurrency for a number of countries is very promising, more than that for a single nation.
Interest in cryptocurrencies is rising in other countries as well. Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro blames foreign powers for the sorry state of the economy. He says Venezuela will launch its own cryptocurrency, the Petro, within days. But experts say the venture is fraught with risk and volatility, and that countries looking to avoid the US dollar have many better options.
US dollar is still the major currencies, but where we see a lot of steps that are taking Russia and China and other countries forward in avoiding dollars in their settlements when they trade between each other. And I think this process will carry on. I don't think that the cryptocurrency is the best solution.
Experts also believe sovereign backing and regulations can reduce volatility and build confidence in the crypto ruble and the petro. But they warn for now, cryptocurrencies are too risky to bank on. Mobin Nasir, TRT World.
So, are cryptocurrencies a way out for governments under pressure? To help us answer that, we have our editor-at-large, Craig Copetas, in Paris. But first, let's go to Jeffrey Tucker. He's the editorial director of the American Institute for Economic Research, and he joins us from Atlanta in Georgia. Jeffrey, welcome. Happy New Year. I know the last time we spoke, I said that I'd invite you back onto the show when Bitcoin had crashed all the way down to $5. We haven't quite gotten there yet, but we just couldn't wait. Look, isn't the whole idea of a government-backed cryptocurrency something of an oxymoron? I mean, the whole idea of cryptocurrencies is that these things are decentralized, isn't it?
I think you're right about this. I just thought about it a lot this morning and wrote an article on this topic. There is some real tension between the decentralized aspect of cryptocurrency and the idea that there would be an official cryptocurrency. My guess is that they're talking about creating a settlement layer in rubles. Whether or not there'd be a fixed relationship between the crypto token and the rubles is another question. My guess is that it would be unsustainable if there was an attempt to somehow fix it. So you can't really use a ruble to back a cryptocurrency. I don't see how that really works. You can tokenize certain claim obligations and settlement payments in rubles in the form of a cryptocurrency. But even that is a little strange. I mean, you can do that now with Bitcoin, actually.
Right. That leads me neatly onto my next question, which is that what would such a cryptocurrency allow Moscow to do in terms of getting around sanctions that it can't do already?
Well, it will assist in some way. The problem is the attempt to control it. And that, I assume, is the reason why there's any talk about a crypto ruble at all. It's a desire to monitor and make these exchanges official, whereas you can't really do that with something like Bitcoin or Ethereum. It seems to me like a halfway measure. And if I were advising the Russian central bank, the Russian government right now, what I would just suggest is a much easier route: sell oil and gas for Bitcoin. I mean, that's a better way to avoid. And by the way, it's not just about avoiding dollars. It's about avoiding the conventional banking systems. That, I think, is the real interest here.
Is there a chance that opponents of the Russian government could actually use such a cryptocurrency, a ruble-backed cryptocurrency, to actually attack it, for example, by shorting it?
I can't really see that. I mean, that's going to happen anyway, which is why I would suggest that if you're going to create a crypto ruble of some sort, that there not be a fixed exchange rate. It will obtain its own value. My guess is that initially as it's created, it will have a very high value, very close to the ruble, since that would be its main purpose. But there has to be a flexible relationship, I think, between the two. If I were structuring it, that's how I would structure it. But again, the whole thing seems like a bit of a waste of time, really. We've got perfectly decent cryptocurrencies. I think Russia ought to become the nation where cryptocurrency is liberated, where it's welcomed, it's celebrated, where exchanges are allowed to compete with each other. If you took that direction, you get done everything you want to do, and you'd unleash prosperity. Russia could be the richest nation in the world in 10 years if they took that direction.
Crypto utopia, you might say. Craig, I want to bring you in. Does the fact that the Russian government is even considering this show how desperate it is?
Certainly, and it's more than just getting around sanctions. The Russians are looking to weaponize cryptocurrency. According to the Russian central bank, this bill is going to be adopted in March and to coincide with the election, and will be implemented in July. Now, what's really interesting reading in between the lines is that the first deputy chairman of the Russian central bank is calling this a, quote, super national digital currency within the BRICS and the Eurasian Economic Union. So this crypto ruble, or whatever you want to call it, is just not exclusively for Russia. It's part of Russia's alleged master plan to try and overshadow the dollar as the official global currency.
Give us a little bit of context, Craig. I mean, Russia has been under sanctions since 2012 with the Magnitsky Act onwards. How badly have these affected Russia's economy?
Well, it depends on who you talk to. It's kind of like decoding a song by Bjork. Very difficult. For example, Medvedev back in 2014, 2015 said it was going to cost them $100 billion a year in lost income. The UN says it's like $15 billion a year, and the finance ministry recently said it's $140 billion a year. Let's not forget that the business in Russia is a crypto criminal culture. And it has nothing to do with ideology. It's a matter of funding an ideology of sustainable power. And that's what Putin is attempting to do here. Whether it works or not is another question. You see, he's running out of quartermasters. These are the people who, since the time of the Bolsheviks, have provided the Kremlin with Western resources, valuta, that they could sustain their power base with. The Magnitsky Act has cut off the number of quartermasters willing to work with the Kremlin. So, I mean, is this a punt, as we say in American football, to see what happens? I don't know, but it is a calculated plan on the Kremlin's part.
Jeffrey, let me bring you back in. Let's talk about Venezuela for a second. They're talking about implementing the Petro, another cryptocurrency, this time backed by oil reserves. How viable is that?
Yeah, I think that's far less viable than the Russia suggestion and far less worked out. By the way, I don't necessarily see a lot of evil in these schemes. It seems to me that they're not entirely as viable as the governments might believe. Like you opened the segment with observing, these currencies want to be decentralized, and they resist official control. And the more you're able to control them, the less they look and feel like cryptocurrencies, and less value they're going to obtain on the market.
Right.
So this is a serious problem. You know, my guess is right now in the Kremlin, everybody's kind of gone crypto crazy. I mean, Vitalik Buterin, came to visit in the summer. He dazzles everybody he speaks to because he looks like he's about 7 years old, and he's a world genius. Everybody in the Kremlin's going crazy. The ICOs are going nuts all over Russia. I think it's a good thing. I do. I mean, I think Russia's very interested in finding the next big thing. And the crypto ruble just represents that.
Right. Craig, very quickly, I saw you shaking your head a moment ago. Do you want to answer what Jeffrey just said?
Well, I don't think there's any evil here. I just think it's Russia once again making mischief in an attempt for Putin to sustain power. I mean, look, Jeff knows a heck of a lot more about cryptocurrency than I ever will. But lest we assume that it's impossible to hack or manipulate cryptocurrencies, the Russians are certainly looking at ways to do that. We know, for example, of at least one Russian Bitcoin quartermaster, a guy by the name of Alex Vinnik, who was arrested by U.S. authorities last July in Greece on charges of money laundering, hacking, identity theft, tax fraud. It goes on and on and on.
Right.
So there, you know, this has spooky implications.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it there, gentlemen. Jeffrey Tucker in Atlanta, Georgia, and Craig Copetas in Paris. Thank you both so much.